Hoi no, ki te ao mātauranga e kōrurerure ana ngā kare ā-roto I Wainganui te hapori mātauranga I te whakatau o horere a te kāwanatanga kia whakatūria etahi kura tū tohinga ki Aotearoa. Hei tā etahi he mea pai mō ngā tauira Māori, hei tā etahi anō he pūnaha ka rahua ka hinga. Kei a Shane, ngā taha e rua o tēnei tau kume kume, kia ora rā Shane.
Kia ora, Scotty. Well, joining me today and very much against charter schools is Te Makao Bowkett from the Post-Primary Teachers Association. And we also have John Tamihere from the Waipareira Trust who's keen to set one up. JT, tell us why you support this.
Well, we've got a huge tail failing, right? Between now and 2016, hundreds of Māori boys will come out of secondary school in CEA 1 or less.
So because the system is failing us now, we need to try something different?
Well, the real question is, will the present leadership of the present education system, called principals, engage in a discussion with us to work out what the issues are? It's not just our community failing, and some of them do, but we've got a failing education system, and unless they're willing to address that question, what happens is blunt tools called national standards, called charter schools, are used as part of sorting them out.
So what I'm hearing from you is that you want a discussion, you want some dialogue, but tell me specifically why you support this concept of charter schools.
I've just told you that the default mechanism for the management of Māori children will be the criminal justice system in the next 5 years because the economy will not produce the jobs, and secondly, when they come out of education, they'll be education illiterate and innumerate.
Well, Te Makao, that's, seems fair enough. Things aren't working for us now, so why not try something new?
One should really look at the motivation behind the policy. I think what we need to do is challenge the politicians and ask them, what is it that they actually have in mind for our Māori students?
Well, they've come up with this concept,
what do they actually mean by it, and what are the full consequences of this policy decision that has been made without consultation with any key stakeholders, including Māori communities, and what hard evidence do they have that they can produce to show that charter schools will work well and will improve the education outcomes and experience for Māori students?
But what she's saying is...
The question has to be put to them.
Well, I think that's a fair enough question, JT. Where is the evidence?
No, this is the wrong conversation. The conversation is hundreds and hundreds of Māori children will fail the present education system. Not the parents being bad parents, not the solo parents being solo parents. That's just a risk.
And we take that point. But tell us how charter schools will address these failures.
Well, you either, if you do what we're doing now, we'll continue to get thousands of Māori children failing. If we don't change the system with a proper conversation with the leadership and the unions that drive schooling, we have to look for alternatives. And so by default, we have to go to national standards. By default, we have to go to change the system because the system is failing us. And it doesn't matter what anyone says in terms of advocacy. We have to change the system. Now, if the teachers and the teacher principals and leadership do not want to have a conversation with us as to how we might go about that, you use blunt tools called charter schools to work it out.
Is that fair criticism that teachers, that unions, that groups like yours that you represent don't want to engage in that dialogue?
No, that isn't a fair comment whatsoever.
Why?
Because we are...
Where have we worked?
We are very keen to ensure that any political decisions that are made that impact on education for our students are made with full consultation with communities, with the professionals,
Would you like,
with the
can I
leaders.
put the question to you, would you like to work with groups like the group that John represents, with Te Whānau Waipareira?
We currently work with all organisations who have an interest in Māori education, and
have you ever worked with
Waipareira
No.
would be one organisation that we would welcome dialogue with.
But you haven't worked with them yet. That's the surprising thing.
Actually, Shane, we have worked with people associated with Waipareira, but what I think needs to be asked is the people making the decisions about these policies, who are they consulting with? Who are they talking to? They're actually cutting out all of the key stakeholders.
Final comment, JT, because we have to wrap up.
Yeah, okay. Look, the biggest problem is we're talking about ideology and we're talking about teacher rights. I'm talking about student rights. I'm talking about our whānau's rights. And we have a clash. And that's where the clash is. The tools to sort the clash out is actually consultation and proper hui-hui-tanga amongst ourselves to get a result off mainstream campuses. If they're not willing to do that, let's go down this track and let's do it. Hey, kura kaupapa Māori came about in spite of and despite teacher unions.
And probably a good note. Sorry, unfortunately, we have to leave it there. John Tamihere, Te Makao Bowkett. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Tēnā kōrua. Back to you, Scotty.